Hey, Reverend Kim, you are the first and the only one on tonight so far. Right. Oh, is right. That means you got a lot of work to do tonight. Well, okay. You and Isla, I get a chance to put y'all to work tonight. At 6:05, we're gonna proceed. Good evening, Trish. Well, 6:05. Let us get to work. Y'all, please join me in a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for this night. Thank you for the gift of technology. Thank you for those who have gathered and those who will gather. We ask for your divine presence to continue to guide us and give us wisdom and insight that we might be faithful in our following and fellowship with our Savior and your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Um, I did it on Facebook, on the Facebook page. I put a little synopsis of our Bible class tonight. And we're looking at John, the 14th chapter. John, the 14th chapter, in particular, the first 6 verses, verses 1 through 6. So I ask that you follow along with me in whatever translation you have, John, the 14th chapter, verses 1 through 6. Now, I'm going to read from the, I put it on the church's Facebook page. I'm gonna tag you, and I'm gonna put it up again. You'll be able to connect with it. Just give me 1 second. Sometimes it gets, I shouldn't have put the region. 1 second. One second. I just reposted it, Isla, and I tagged you. What it'll show is, unfortunately, I shouldn't have done this. It'll show a little piece of a map that has Chicago, and you have to click on it. It'll say "See More," and when you click on it, you'll see. It's just a brief synopsis of what we're going to look at tonight, and for the next few Tuesdays, we're going to break this up into pieces to allow us to better digest it. So John, the 14th chapter, I'm going to read from the New International Version. You see it, Isla? Let me know if you see it. Again, I'm going to be reading from the New International Version of the Greek New Testament. Cool. Wonderful. All right. John, the 14th chapter, verses 1 through 6. I'm reading from the NIV. It says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way?" Jesus answered, this is verse 6, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And we're focusing on this 6th verse for the next 3 Tuesday evenings. Jesus said, "I am the way and the truth and the life." And tonight we're gonna talk about I am the way. We're going to try to do a little detail for these next few nights, starting with the statement, "I am the way." This is perhaps if not one of, it perhaps one of the most famous and memorable statements from Jesus. It is kind of now sort of cliche-ish because we quote it, by memory. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." It has been repeated so often that in many instances, it has been separated from the context that John placed it in from the precious memory. I've said in several of my sermons, in particular about John's gospel, it is a precious memory. John writes his gospel 50, 60 years after Jesus had resurrected and ascended back to heaven. And so he writes down these precious memories of his walk with Jesus when Jesus was in the flesh. And many times it has been divorced. It has been separated, from the context, and separated and divorced from the theme that John lifts up. When John wrote this gospel, he has a theme in mind. We'll talk more about that later. It is as if the way we quote it is almost as if, you could just take what Jesus said, "I am the way, I and the truth and the life." It is as if you could just take that on its own. It could just stand all by itself. The way we quote it is as if it is a whole solid statement just by itself. We quote it and we pull it out. "I am the way, the truth, and the life," Jesus said, as if it doesn't have anything else that helps to support it. So what I want to do is I want to investigate the context tonight in order to gain a deeper and more faithful and fulfilling interpretation, and to equip us as believers to better be able to explain, to discuss, and share the message of this text and the meaning of the ministry of Jesus. Want to be able to do that to other people that may ask us. Suppose somebody asks you, "What does this verse mean?" What would be your response to somebody saying, "I keep hearing people quote Jesus, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life.' I heard my grandmama and my grandparents. I've heard people over and over again quote that, and I've been confused. I don't get it." How would you explain what this statement in this verse, what it means? This is something I want us to think about, kind of contemplate over these next 3 weeks, in order that we might be able to give an answer, because oftentimes the answers that we give are church familiar answers, and they are kind of general. I was talking with somebody last week, and we were talking about a particular subject, biblical subject, and I kept asking them, "Well, why is that?" They made the statement that when you become a follower of Jesus Christ, when you become a Christian, then evil, the devil, gets angry, and you end up going through a lot of challenges because of that. The enemy is attacking you. And so I said, "Okay, tell me why the enemy gets upset. Tell me why evil gets upset." "Because you accept Jesus as Lord of your life." And we went round and round because the person, one is that the assumption was that I understood what they were talking about. And I did. But I also needed more explanation. Why is it that the devil gets upset? Why is it evil gets upset? Because you choose to make Jesus the Lord of your life. And so as I pushed, it wasn't just pushing to be pushing. I actually needed to hear more to help me talk about, this thing about, being a follower of Jesus Christ. And so it's with that kind of a backdrop that, I'm raising this, that we kind of contemplate and kind of think about, well, how would I talk about this? That somebody who, doesn't have all of the, the church background that many of us have, where we've heard it. And sometimes even with the church background, we've assumed that we really understand it. And so if somebody presses us, then, well, what does Jesus mean by that? Then what would be your response to that? What does Jesus mean when he says, I am the way? How could you explain this portion of the verse to someone who has little knowledge of being a Christian and very little knowledge of the Bible? What images or references or even examples would you draw upon to help paint a clear picture of what Jesus' words, I am the way? What would you draw? What would you use as either a metaphor or as an example to try to explain what this means? And then what have you heard from other people, be they clergy persons, be they lay persons, or the portion that we're looking at tonight when Jesus says, I am the way? What did you hear? And what were the explanations that you heard growing up in your home or in your, in your circles? What did you hear as far as what does this mean? And how does what you know and what you have heard about the meaning of this verse, how has it affected you? How has it affected you as a Christian? How does it direct you as a Christian? How does it guide you as a Christian? How does it help instruct you in making decisions in your life, in your living as being a follower of Jesus Christ? Are these words instructional? Are they just merely emotional? They just give you a good feeling? Are these words strengthening? And if so, why? And then what implications does this verse, in particular, what implications does this verse, in particular, the first portion of it, I am the way, what implication does it have for people in your understanding? What implications does it have for people who are not of the Christian faith in your understanding? Okay. Thank you, Isla, for that. Thank you. So that's kind of how we're going to proceed. And please understand that as we go through this, it's not a judgment, it's not a criticism, it's not a negative mark, because one, you may not have thought about what it means. You may have just quoted it and it sounded well. That's okay. That's fine. It's not a judgment. It's not a criticism. It's not any of that. And as I go through it, some of the things that you have come to accept and appreciate about this verse, I may say something that doesn't necessarily line up with that. It still doesn't mean that you are wrong or I am wrong. I mean, we gotta grow into this. I'm going to give you the background and what it leads to from that background. But if this verse has been strength to you, if it has helped you, it should remain that. And along with, you have some other reference information to go along with it. I hope that helps. In examining it, okay, Kathleen, I don't know what happened, because I even tagged you, Kathleen, in the synopsis. I'll do it again. I don't know what happened. So just give me a moment, and I'll go back. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Facebook don't want me to do this for some reason. And I'm glad you all are sharing that with me now. So when I do this for next week, I know to be I'll be oh, the Facebook Live, it didn't show up because I'm looking at it live, and I don't know what happened. Let me see. Well, that's strange, because I got it live on Facebook. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can correct it. Okay, just give me one moment. I'm gonna try to correct it on Facebook. What a revolting development. Oh boy. So I just restarted it on Facebook. All right, now the notification has gone out. Okay, Kathleen, I see you on Facebook. Yeah, I don't know what happened the first time. I'm so sorry. Okay, great. You got it now. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what happened. I'm sitting here looking at Facebook and yeah, I'm looking at Facebook and nobody's on. And then I catch you all on YouTube. And so I just assumed, I assumed that nobody wanted to get on Facebook. Oh my goodness. I'm very sorry. I don't know what happened. And I should have checked for the notification. I'm gonna just go back over briefly, real quick. We're looking at John the 14th chapter, verses 1 through 6. And Jesus says, "Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may be also." And then Thomas says, "Lord, we don't know where you going. We ain't got no idea where you going. How are we gonna know the way where you going?" And so Jesus answered Thomas by saying, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And so, I was pointing out that we're going to examine, in particular, the 6th verse of John 14. Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And we're going to focus tonight on the first part where Jesus says, "I am the way." And so in looking at that, I was asking, what does that mean to you when Jesus says, "I am the way"? How has that been instructive or empowering? How has that been strengthening? What have you heard that it means? Be that in church, from clergy, from other lay persons, from theologians. What have you heard that this verse means in your own home or in your own close circles of influence? And then how would you explain what this verse means? As Christians, we should be asked by other people about different Bible verses and different aspects of the religion of Jesus. People should be able to ask us, not that we are theologians, but we should be able to offer some explanation based on our experience and our understanding. And so, how would you explain what this means to somebody else when Jesus says, "I am the way"? And then, based on your belief, what implications does that have for people who are not of the Christian faith? And so in looking at it, I want to start out, we're going to look at tonight, Jesus said, "I am the way." And feel free to type what you think it means or how helpful, you feel it has been when you hear that verse. It's a very familiar verse. I mean, I think all of us have quoted it dozens of times throughout our life. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And, there are circumstances where it has arisen where we have used that verse. And so, feel free to type, what it means to you. How has it been instructional, inspirational, or how has it been, a source of strength to you? Those are helpful. And again, there is no wrong or right answer. We're on the journey. I'm not trying to get you to necessarily change the way you see it. I just want to add to, if I can, I just want to add to what you may already know about it. And you can take it from there. That's fine. That's okay. It's a very powerful verse of scripture. So Jesus says, "I am the way." So the question that I want to raise is, why did he make this statement? Now, initially, we know that Thomas said something that is extremely helpful here. Thomas said something that we can learn from. Thank you, Trish. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah, that I like that. That's good. Thank you. Um, so, hey, Charlene, hey, Mike Carson. So why did Jesus make the statement, I am the way, the truth, and the life? So initially, we know that he was responding to Thomas. And we know that Thomas has been called the doubting disciple. Now there's a whole another Bible class on who Thomas was, and this notion that he was doubting Thomas. That carries kind of a negative connotation to it. Doubting Thomas. When in reality, Thomas just asked questions. And it is good to ask questions. Jesus initially said, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I am going. Thank you, Kathleen. That's right. And so when Jesus says that, understand they've been walking with Jesus 3 years now. And Jesus has been determining where they would go and when they would go there. They are followers. That's what followers do, and so if they didn't want to follow, then they wouldn't follow, That's what some people did with Jesus. They walked away from Jesus. But these are the 12 disciples, and there are many others along with them. And Jesus for 3 years has been deciding where to go and when to go there. And so when he makes this statement, Thomas, and guess what? I think that just about all of us would ask that same question, or at least we would have the same question in our heart. Thomas says, Lord, we don't know where you're going. And so how can we know what this way is to get where you're going? Thomas had questions, and understand it's not in the Bible that Thomas is identified as doubting Thomas. That is something that other people over the centuries have identified. And guess what? Many of us just picked it up. That's doubting Thomas. Thomas, in fact, when we read it, he's one of the most courageous disciples. He is, in fact, as courageous or maybe even more than Peter was. And there's at least one verse that indicates that. So Jesus initially is responding to Thomas' statement that we don't know where you're going. We have no idea where you're going. So we have no clue as to what this way is to get where you're talking about. And so that's the initial response. But why did Jesus make the statements anyway? I want to first of all deal with the why. Why is Jesus saying what he said anyway, y'all? And so that leads us to when Jesus said it. The when he said it helps us clarify the why. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you so much. You're so right. And that's why I say, you've heard it so many times before. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Now, we have quoted that, we say that, but actually we think there are some dumb questions. Now, there may be some questions that need to be asked at a different time, and then some that take more precedence. But really, in reality, when we are learning and growing, and that's what all of us need, should be, living a life of learning and growing, then questions are necessary for that. And we really, it would do us well get the inhibitions out, and it would do us well to not make fun of persons that might ask what we call, a very rudimentary, a very basic question that we assume everybody knows. Because sometimes people feel, they feel judged by other people in the room or around them because they ask a question and people give looks. And so it would do all of us well, to watch how we listen and respond to a person that asks a question and we're in the same room. We want to be as encouraging and as comforting as possible. Kathleen, thank you. The path to get to the ultimate goal, to the Father, we have to go the way he has shown us by his example. I like that. I like that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Mike Carson, difficult. Okay. Thou it may be. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, all of you who are responding. So the initial is he's responding to Thomas' statement. But why did he make all the statements in the first place? And then I say, what is the when? What is the when? WHEN. When did he make this statement? When did he decide to make this statement? So chapter 14 in reality is an extension of chapter 13. Chapter 14 in reality is an extension of chapter 13. And you know what happened in chapter 13, many of you, in chapter 13, Jesus, the chapter is a great portion of the chapter addresses Jesus at that Last Supper in that upper room where he got up, took his outer robe off, and then wrapped a towel around him, got a pitcher of water and a basin, and got on his knees and lifted up the disciples' feet, and he poured water on their feet and he washed their feet. Chapter 13, the great portion of it is him washing their feet. And then his conversations with Peter, because Peter, then said, no, I can't let you, I can't let you wash my feet. And then Jesus responds, if I can't wash your feet, then you can't be with me. And so, he gets through that. And then when he gets through washing their feet, Jesus then gets up, puts on his outer robe, gets back to the table. And then he starts having, these statements, this conversation. It's not really a conversation because he is using that as an opportunity to teach them something. And he talks about, you call me Lord and you should. He said, you call me teacher and you should. But you got to understand that the servant is not greater than the master. And he says, now, I have washed your feet. Now, what I am expecting you to do is to do like I have done. That I'm expecting you to do that to one another. And then after he emphasizes that what I did, I'm expecting you to follow up and do likewise, and my example was the washing your feet. And it's more than just washing the feet. It is how they are to treat one another. Then he goes into these statements that he's going to be betrayed. This is all in chapter 13. He starts talking about, I'm going to be betrayed tonight. And you gotta, when you read it, you gotta read it. You gotta read it in a way that helps you include the passion in it. You got to understand that Jesus is hurting right now. And he's in a lot of pain because of what he knows. And so he talks about, in that he makes a statement about he's going to be betrayed. And then, the chapter deals with the disciples trying to figure out, well, who is it going to betray him and whatnot? And John, Peter motions to John and tries to, motion to John to ask him, well, who is it? And, Jesus, dips a piece of bread into the food. And, the one that dips with me. Well, see, the problem with that is nobody could identify it was Judas, because everybody was dipping in the bowl. It's a common bowl. And so, yeah, Judas dipped in, but they couldn't make the connection that he was talking about Judas. And then Jesus, tells Judas, he said, now what you about to do? I need you to go and do it quickly. The disciples thought, that he had given Judas an assignment. And Jesus did this a lot. He didn't always announce his assignments to everybody. There's sometimes he would pull one or two aside and say, now, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go do this. This is the way Jesus operated. And it wasn't that, he was grooming special people. He recognized that certain people he needed for certain responsibilities. And I like this about Jesus. He didn't need to explain himself about it. He understood that certain people had certain assignments, or he recognized that certain people he wanted to handle certain assignments. It didn't mean that they were more important. It's just that he recognized that this person I want to handle it, and he didn't need to explain himself. You see, and that's important. Now that's a whole nother Bible class in itself. And he tells Judas, do what you're going to do and do it quickly. They thought, well, Judas did carry the money. He was the treasurer, so he must have had an assignment. They had no clue that Judas was going out to sell him out for 30 pieces of silver. And then Jesus says, he starts, he begins to kind of round this part out by talking about, I'm going to be glorified, and you're going to see it, and then I'm going to be with you just a little longer, and you're going to look for me. And as I told the Jews, and I'm telling you, where I'm going, you cannot come. Now this is chapter 13. And then he gives them a command. He said, now I'm giving you a command. I need you to love one another as I have loved you. And y'all know, you've heard me repeat this verse over and over and over again. This is his instruction to his disciples. He says, everyone will know that you are my disciples by how you love one another. And then, Peter asked him, so where you going anyway? And Jesus says, where I'm going, you cannot follow, but you will follow later. He said, where I'm going, you can't follow now, but you'll follow later. And then Jesus says, and then Peter says, Lord, why can't I come with you now? And then Peter makes the statement that, gets him busted out. He said, I'm ready to die for you. And Jesus said, really, Peter? Look at it. That's what he says. Will you really lay down your life for me? In other words, really? Really? You saying that? Thanks, Kathleen. And so Jesus said, man, he said, before the rooster crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. And so you got to, when you read it, and I trust, please read it over and over again in your quiet moment. Read it out loud, chapter 14, verses 1 through 6. And read it out loud, because you got to understand that you got to feel, there's tension here. There's a lot of tension. There's worry here. There's pain here. There's anxiety here. And yes, Jesus had all of that. And so when we want to think that Jesus didn't have any worry, any stress, he had some stress, and this was weighing on him. And so, he tells Peter at the end of 13, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And then 14. So remember that there were no chapters. And so this is all this is called Jesus' farewell discourse. And it starts with mainly chapter 14 and goes through chapter 17. Jesus' farewell discourse. And so opens up chapter 14. Now he has been hinting that, I'm leaving. And the disciples are getting a little upset. They're getting worried. Jesus is stressed. There's a lot of tension here. There is, and so here's a metaphor that I want to insert here. Whenever a person has to relocate after they have lived in a place for either a long time or they have lived there long enough to make friends and become a part of the community of people that they are around. When a person has to relocate, that becomes very difficult for, first of all, the person that is relocating, and then the people that are their friends and family members and loved ones who they formed a bond with. It becomes very difficult. It becomes difficult to resolve that you're relocating to a place where we just can't, come visit you like we used to. We won't see you in the grocery store like we would happen to. We won't see you at some of the other venues like restaurants. We won't be able to do those things that, we used to do. Whenever a person has to relocate, it is as if something on the inside, if not dying, gets on life support, because you recognize the reality that, if I won't be able to see your face, I'll be able to talk with you by phone, but that only further enhances the disconnect, because I can't see the expressions. There's something about us being, together, which is why it has been so difficult, not being in the church house. And if you're like me, I miss it so much. It is so hard. It's so hard, just not being in the community where you're looking at people and, you don't have to say a whole lot. You don't have to have a whole lot of conversation, just looking over and being able to see the person. So it's very difficult, y'all. It's extremely painful. There are conflicting feelings that one has. There are feelings of loss. These feelings are real. It's almost as if, I'm losing a friend, and they'll say, you're not losing me, and even though that person that's relocating will say that, deep down, they feel the same way. It almost feels like I'm losing a friend. It feels like abandonment for some of the people that you have relationships with. They depended on being able to see you. And it almost feels like it's an abandonment. There is this disconnection and separation that is extremely painful. And so to try to resolve those feelings, oftentimes, we have rituals that are designed to try to help us say goodbye. Okay. And those rituals, the rituals are graduations. Graduation is a ritual that not only celebrates the next step that the graduate is taking, but graduations also help the people that are connected to that graduate recognize that the time is coming where they are going to completely separate from us. And so kindergarten graduations and 8th grade graduations and high school graduations and college graduation are rituals that help us deal with the sense of separation. Retirement parties. I know there are a couple, at least of you right now, Isla, who, this experience of retirement. Well, you have worked, those of you who are retired, you have worked alongside, around, certain people, and there is a bond that was formed. And when you retire, it's as if that bond is being broken. And so one of the rituals is a retirement party, because it allows some sense of the goodbye, and it is supposed to. It doesn't do it, but it helps. There are going away parties, people have going away parties. It is hard. Isla, thank you for posting that. It is almost like a death, because in some ways it is the death of a routine. Then that routine is connected with people. You got up every morning and, you were headed, and there was a group of people there. You may not have liked everybody there, but there were some people that, you grow fond of. And they helped you get through the difficulties on that job, and to help you last as long as you lasted. And so it is hard. And so retirement parties, there are going away parties. When children are graduating and going away to college, people have these trunk parties. The trunk parties are not just that they can get stuff that they'll need, but it's also a way to help the people that are connected to them, help them deal with the fact that so-and-so is going away to school, and they're going away. They're not going in the same city, and because it's very difficult. And even, what has happened in the last 20 and 30 years, people have divorce parties. They have, divorce celebrations, and it's to help them deal with the depth of a relationship, the depth of a marriage, and to help me try to look forward to a new beginning in my life. That's right. Yeah, a lot of people having them because divorce is difficult. Even if that joker was a rascal, especially if you have been married any length of time, you get used to having even a rascal around, even though you recognize I can't put up with the rascal, I can't put up with them shenanigans and that foolishness, but that means that now I'm going to be by myself. And so people have even divorce parties. And so thank you, Shirlene. It is an adjustment. Rituals. These rituals help answer questions, y'all, in the minds of people. The questions are, where are you going? And so in the rituals, when somebody is relocating or going away or, or whatever, the rituals help answer the question, where are you going? Okay, that person's going to this school. That person relocating to another city because they got a job in the city, or, they're relocating because they're retired and they're going to another place where it's warmer, and more comfortable. It helps answer the questions, where are you going? And it answers the question, why you're going. I'm going because I got a job, it's got more pay. I'm going to a warmer climate because it's better on my body, better on my health. I'm going, because I'm going to a school and I hope to further my education to build my career. It answers the question, how long will you be gone? I'm never coming back here, or I'm going away for 4 years to school, then I'm coming back, or, it answers those questions. And then it answers the question, what happens to us now? Hear me now, because the people that are being left behind, they have a question. And one of those questions is, well, what's going to happen to us now that you're gone? Yeah, thank you, Reverend Kim, for that. Thank you for that resource, important resource. And I hope, on YouTube, you can't see the resource. Reverend Kim pointed out there's a book called Good Grief by Granger Westberg. And it talks about every loss, which includes those losing jobs, etc., and etc. And so great, from retirement to all of that. So on YouTube, I can't type it in, but it's called Good Grief. Exactly. Where do the people that are being left, they have a question, and that means, what happens to us now? And so the person leaving, they're looking to them, how you're leaving us. So all of us, many of us have had people that just up and left on us. It wasn't that they were mad with us or anything in particular, but some people just up and relocated. Some people just up and, just up and quit their job. Some people, just up and went off to school. And we find out later, and they didn't leave us in a good way. They didn't leave us in a good way, and so these rituals. Why am I talking about that? Because that's what Jesus was dealing with right here. Jesus was dealing with the grief and the pain of separation. And in Jesus making these statements, he is preparing his disciples to understand where he's going, why he is leaving, how long he will be gone, what happens to them now, and how he's leaving them. These are the point that this is about, y'all. And so when he opens up chapter 14 with the statement, "Don't let your hearts be troubled," this part of the scripture has been quoted at just about every funeral. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may be also. This has been quoted just about at every funeral, and I know everyone that I've ever been a part of, I will quote this scripture. Why? Because it offers me comfort, and I have reason to believe that it has offered comfort to others, because death is the ultimate relocation that one deals with, the death of a loved one. And so Jesus opens up with, "Don't let your heart be troubled." And his statement is, you believe in God, now you gotta believe in me. There is another place that at another time you will be with me, and I'm going to make sure you're there, because I've already identified the way to get there. That's why Jesus made the statement, and that's when Jesus made the statement. He made it the night before he was going to be arrested, and a day before he was going to be murdered. That's why he made the statement. That's when he made the statement. Now let's deal with to whom he makes the statement. He makes the statement, as obvious as it is, to his disciples then. Please understand, Jesus wasn't talking to you and me. He was talking to his disciples then. He was talking to the ones he had walked physically with for 3 years. The pain that they were experiencing, and the trauma that they were about to experience would be overwhelming. And so Jesus, without just being blunt, he has been hinting at this for some time. Way back in John, the 7th chapter, he said, "A little while I am with you, and then I'm going to him who sent me." And so they could not figure out what he was saying. Jesus talked in parables a lot, and they knew that. And so they assumed this is another parable, but he hasn't given us the explanation of the parable. And so they just let it go in one ear out the other. And here things have gotten real tense here, y'all, because this is the night before he was going to be murdered, and the very night that he was going to be arrested. And so he's saying this for that reason. Now let's get back to after he says, don't let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. I got a place prepared for you. I'm going to make sure you there. because you know the way that I'm going. And Thomas says, we don't know where you're going, because they're not perceiving he's talking about death. They're not perceiving, that he's talking about what we would call heaven. They're not perceiving that it is this final. And so Thomas said, no, Jesus, I'm not, I don't get this now. What are you talking about? And then Jesus says, Thomas says, no, none of us know the way. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And tonight we're looking at why Jesus said, what does it mean when he says, I am the way? So let's suppose I have another metaphor. The metaphor is this. Let's suppose that you're trying to get somewhere. You're trying to drive somewhere. You don't have Garmin, you don't have Siri, you don't have any of that. Let's suppose that you're out of town where, your cell is not working and you got to get to a particular location. You have no clue of how to get there. So you stop at one of those, like you see in the movie, one of those dusty gas stations, got one gas pump because you driving, this long distance. You pull in there. The attendant says, can I fill up the gas tank? You say, please. By the way, I am trying to get to such and such a place. Can you tell me how to get there? The attendant says, oh, no problem. Get back on the road. Go down 3 miles. You will see at 3 miles, you will see a tree that is bent. The street sign, you can't see it no more because it blew over. So the tree is bent, and it's bent kind of leaning over the roadway. When you get to that tree, there's a road there. You make a right turn. You make a right turn at that tree, and you go down 1 mile. At that 1 mile, you're going to see a building, and that building is red. And at that red building, you're going to make a left turn. You go down again for about 4 miles. After 4 miles, you're going to see that the road gets kind of rough. When it gets kind of rough, pay attention, because up on your right, you got to make another right turn. You make that right turn, and then you're going to come to another road. You get on that road, you make a left turn, and you're going to be on the right road to get to the destination. Guess what? You will get lost and forget what that person said 5 minutes after you drive off. Why? Because how you going to think of those things and you trying to pay attention to the road and all that type of stuff? But let's just say that gas station attendant says, you know what? It's kind of tricky getting to this spot. I don't have many customers this time of day. If you just give me a moment, I'm going to close up the gas station. I'm going to get in my truck and you just follow me. And I'm going to take you to where you need to go. You want to get that location? You follow me. And I'm going to take you to that destination. Now, guess what? That gas station attendant for you just became the way. Because that gas station attendant is showing you how to get to the destination that you need to get to. Does that make sense? The gas station attendant has just become the way. In other words, the gas station attendant, I'm belaboring it because, the point is well taken. If I give you these directions, it's going to be hard to remember them. You probably will get lost. But if I show you, if you follow me, then you won't have to worry about getting lost, because I know where I'm going. And I know all of the tricks. I know all of the, the little alleys and little places that you can get lost in and you might make a mistake. I'm going to guide you there. You just follow me. That person just became the way. Jesus said, I am the way. if I may, let me give you, if you have the New Interpreter's Study Bible, it has a beautiful explanation of this that I'm going to share parts of it with you right now, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Jesus gives metaphors oftentimes to explain not just his role, but what he embodies. This is an I am statement. There are like 7 I am statements in the Gospel of John that Jesus made. Jesus said, I am the way. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Jesus also said, I am the gate. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. Because these point to that Jesus is our point of access to the life that we need to live with God. Jesus is our point of access to the life that we should strive to live with God. And Jesus is the embodiment of that life that we need to live with God. I hope you got that. Jesus says, I am the gate. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And so Jesus becomes our point of access. Jesus becomes the embodiment of what it means to live a life that is close to God. It is an embodiment is a tangible or visible form of an idea, a thought, a quality, or a feeling. Jesus embodies this. And so when Jesus says, I am the way, like that driver that says, I will guide you to where, Jesus becomes the way, the point of access to how we live closer to God. So there's a thing in the New Interpreter's Study Bible called an excursus on this very point, where Jesus says, no one comes to the Father except through me. And it says in the Gospel of John, the central theological theme or the conviction that Jesus is the tangible presence of God in this world. So Jesus' presence in the flesh is a visible representation of God. It is a tangible example. You know, like people from Missouri, you know, they need to be shown. Show me this. Well, Jesus, God said, okay, you want me to show you? Here's Jesus. And so when Jesus has said, when you see him, you have seen God. It's very important. The Father and the Son language that you hear Jesus use references his intimate relationship with God. So what Jesus is establishing is that I'm not somebody that casually knows God. We got an intimate relationship. It's like a parent to a child. And our encounter with Jesus, the Son, makes possible the opportunity to experience relationship as we have never experienced it before with God. Experience a relationship with God in a brand new way, in a deeper way. As a relative, as a parent to a child. In other words, to have close communion with God. And that comes because of our relationship with Jesus. I am the way. I am the way. Now, what did Jesus not say? He didn't say, I am the only way. He said, I am the way. Who was he talking to? His disciples. Unfortunately, many Christians interpreting this, John in sharing this particular aspect, use it as an exclusive thing that excludes other people. This celebrates, John 14:6 celebrates how Jesus reveals God for those in a particular faith community, and it doesn't negate or it's not a judgment on other world religions. John is, in sharing this, John is trying to help people who have accepted Jesus to be better Christians by being in a closer relationship with God. Okay? So it doesn't judge other people in other religions. It talks to people in this religion and say, it says you've got an opportunity to grow closer to God. Jesus was talking to his disciples. And in talking to his disciples, he is giving them information and instruction on his role, his presence, and how he is their point of access to be in a deeper relationship like he is with God. Okay, I hope that helps. He's not condemning anybody else that's not in this, that's not there with him in this relationship. And so John's gospel was written for the purpose of helping believers. John shared these precious memories for a purpose to help believers live a closer life to God through Jesus Christ. Okay? And so therefore, what it also suggests is that we ought not be concerned about other people and what religion they are in. Our focus ought to be how we can become better followers of Jesus Christ. Now, is that helpful? Again, I'm not trying to get you to change how you see this verse of scripture. If it has been helpful, strengthening, if it has given you the knowledge that Trish talks about, if it had done that, then that's fine. I just need to add some other understandings of it so that you can have that, in conjunction with what you have. This text, when Jesus says, "I am the way," he is pointing out that he is that gas station attendant that's going to take you to the destination. And because he embodies the destination, in other words, he is the living example of what that destination should look like. How Jesus lived his relationship with God is to be emulated by us. Jesus ought to become the standard for us and how we live our lives in this world. He is the point of access. He is the gate. He is the good shepherd, and so he is the way for us, okay? Because he's talking to his disciples then. Now, he wasn't talking to us living in this 21st century, but he was talking to his disciples then. And guess what? They were to then communicate to other people that to live a life closer to God, that life has to emulate Jesus, how Jesus lived. And let me tell you what Jesus did when he was alive. And so we have the examples. So when Jesus says, "I am the way," he is saying, I am your point of access to living a life that is like me in a communion with God. So that as Jesus says, you do what God directs you to do. You live the way God directs you to live. You relate to God in a way that reflects a relationship of somebody that you love so much that it is as if you cannot live without them. It is like a parent to child. It is like a love that is so deep that you can't live without it. And so Jesus is saying, how do you get there? I'm the way. He's trying to get the disciples to live a life that emulates what he did so that they can live closer to God. Okay? While they are drawing breath on the earth. Therefore, that place he was talking about, that he has prepared, that place, then we are then preparing ourselves for that place. So it's both and. It's not that we're preparing ourselves for that place and living any old kind of way, this way, living distant from God, doing whatever we want to do, regardless of how God may feel about it. Is that we're living a life on right now that will then please God because we're living close to God, and then that prepares us for that place that Jesus was talking about. Okay? So next week we'll deal with when he says, I am the way, I am the truth. We'll deal with his statement, I am the truth. Okay? Any statements or comments, I hope that has been helpful. I want us to be equipped so that we can help somebody else. Please understand that many people, they're like Thomas, but they don't want to feel bad about asking the question. A lot of people are like the disciple Thomas, and they know that Thomas has been called the doubting disciple. And that is, that's a good example, Trish. Thank you for that. He's preparing me. Yeah. A lot of people are like Thomas, but they know that erroneously people have named Thomas the doubting disciple. Jesus never said doubting disciple. Jesus appreciated Thomas's questions. And a lot of people have questions like Thomas, but they don't want to feel bad. They don't want to ask you. They don't want to ask me. And so they don't want to, they don't want to feel like that they're being, judged. But like Thomas, they got questions. And so, we ought to be able, to share something like this. Jesus says, I am the way. Well, that means Jesus is our point of access to a closer relationship to God. It's just that simple. And it is our point of access, because they'll say, well, what about people that are Muslim? Well, that's not our concern. Jesus is talking to us to make us a better Christian by having a better relationship with God, by living a life that emulates how he lived, how he talked. So it's a standard. Jesus is the standard. I am the way. Thank you so much, Shirlene. I really appreciate that. God gets the glory, truly. As we, these, Bible studies, and again, I miss us doing Bible study together, but I appreciate this because more people are able to get on Bible study because you can do this from your home or your job, whereas it's not always convenient to have to travel to the church, and then, especially in the wintertime, night comes early, then you got to go home at night. Well, we can do this, online, and we can have more people, and, and we can be a little more relaxed in our examination. And it helps me as much or more than it helps you, especially when, you have questions, because I haven't thought of all of the answers to every question, and I don't know the answers to every question. And I'll tell you that. And some of it we can work out, and some of it I'll say, well, I got to come back to you on that, But it helps me because as I was sharing in the beginning, when I was talking with the person, last week, I needed to actually know clearer because I'm like Thomas. And I got a whole lot of questions when I hear some things, because I want to be, I want to be as clear as possible. So, I really appreciate it. Again, it's not a cliche. This does as much for me or more as it does for you. That's exactly right. More people can join in, and that's the other reason why, um, share the Bible class. When we come on, share it. And I'm gonna try to send, the premiere, but share it with others, because in social media, there's an algorithm that if you don't share it, it doesn't go to a wider audience. The algorithm figures out the 5 or 10 people that you communicate with on a regular basis, and that's the only people that'll get it. But when you share it and then other people share it, then it breaks the algorithm and it makes the circle wider. So that's why, it's always good to share it. So thank you all so much. That's it for tonight. So the synopsis sheet, I did post that on the church's website, not the website, I'm sorry, the church's Facebook page. And you can look at that, because this is just a synopsis of the next 2 Tuesdays that we're going to look at. And again, mull over this John the 14th chapter, and ask yourself, how would I explain this? Ask yourself, how do I see this, and where did I get my understanding from? So yeah, do that. Thank you so much, Reverend Gina. You all are great. Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you, Reverend Kim. Thank you to everybody. I see Jeanette and Giovanni and Mike Carson and all the names, Kathleen. I see you all, and then I know there are those who haven't signed on, especially with the YouTube, and you're watching also. So thank you, all of you. And we'll pick it up on next week. Jesus says, "I am the truth." So what does that mean when Jesus says, "I am the truth"? Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth." What does that mean? And we'll talk more about it on next Tuesday. So God bless you. God keep you. And as my good buddy, my brother from another mother, Deacon Lance Peeler, always says, "I am so glad the tomb was empty." There's Patrice. You are very welcome. I love all of you. Thank you so much. See you on next Tuesday. Be encouraged.